Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. I am going to be talking. I've got her giggling already, which is great.
Yeah, it's sweet.
I'm going to be talking to the wonderful Kathy in a minute about all things music. Although we've just had a wonderful chat about accessibility, and it probably will come up a little bit in this conversation,
hope so.
because ultimately people need to take that stuff a lot more seriously. And for those that are now not able to see it, here's a little video which incorporates people playing their guitars, bashing on their synths, and even a cat waving at us. Okay, there we go. That's what's incorporated into this video.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining me. We will talk music. Don't worry about that. But first, let's why the interest for you? Because there's normally a personal story there. Why the interest for you about accessibility?
COVID. When COVID kicked in, I was still living in Edinburgh. And there was an article. I've actually created an accessibility tab on my website that tells the story. But essentially, there was a woman who was in the newspaper. It was like mainstream newspaper, talking about with the arrival of COVID that she was more able to go to the theatre to watch things because, they hadn't been catered for. And the more I read it, I then got fixated. I actually then reached out to ability.net. I'm always quite an inquisitive person, and I don't like doing things in half measures. So the more I read, and marketing and comms is basically my bread and butter for these last number of years. When I realized what I could do for free, just because of the knowledge, I can't go back. So the hardest thing was to find a British Sign Language interpreter. A lot I could do myself, but that's only been successful. In December of this year, I found a fantastic woman, Rebecca Ann Withy. So this is now our fourth project. So we have a system going and a process, and she helps. So sign language is the icing on the cake. I obviously do captions. I make sure I write my own captions. I don't want social media channels interpreting gobbledygook, especially with my accent. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
that's really the reason. After COVID, it was no looking back.
It was quite heartening to see that actually last year, or in the last couple of years, some of the bigger concerts that were out there, music wise, started to have BSL interpreters in stadiums.
Absolutely, and performance interpreting is one of the key players. Just the luxury. I mean, one day I would love to do a gig where I would have a sign language interpreter. That would definitely be the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But I like it. If I can be inclusive, which, makes sense. If we realize that some people can't appreciate our music, and it just takes a wee bit more effort, time and effort. It's not really money, except for the sign language interpreting. So that's where it came from.
I love that. I mean, having kind of come from that world myself.
Yeah, you were saying.
20 odd years as a workplace needs assessor, working in the field of workplace adjustments and, helping people with access, to whatever it is that they needed to be able to perform and do their job to the same ability as everybody else and be included. It's so important. And it isn't something that we talk about particularly in the media enough. It's certainly not something that gets talked about in the music world enough. So thank you so much for doing that. And as I was saying to you, I'll get you involved in another podcast at some point with some people that do that.
Actually, sure.
For a living, because I think it would be good to see.
It would be a change. I mean, golly, we really could make a difference.
And I think what it is we just all have to do our bit, right?
Yeah.
We just all have to
Yeah.
do our bit, and we need to kind of talk about it in different areas, different sectors, different levels, and whatever as well, to start to make the change. But it's also important, I have to say, and this may resonate with you, and also on the music side of things, it's also quite important to make that education piece work both ways as well, because and I'll give you an example of that. I actually work with a blind client. I do their
Yeah.
social media for them, and we wrote a whole piece. We wrote a whole piece about people using some of the AI like ChatGPT and whatever to help them write alt text for images.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And this one guy comes storming in who's like, quite a sort of staunch kind of, extremist on the inclusion side of things, and went, oh, but some of what ChatGPT comes out with is too verbose. I get it, right? But what we we went back to him and said, but wouldn't you rather that 95% of people use ChatGPT and put something there and it wasn't quite right, but you could read it,
Yeah.
than not do anything at all? And the thing is, and I will get on my high horse about this, as I was saying to you before, the people that create systems, they're the people that are most responsible, because they could incorporate the tools to make it easier for people to be inclusive.
Yeah.
The
cascading down. The only thing I would say to that, because I think the latest standard is WCAG 3.0, that for me in alt text, I use ChatGPT as an administrator for that, not for creating stuff really. But I've given it already the URL pages actually stating, and it's in its memory, it's got to be up to 125 characters. I still sometimes get the odd, and I call my ChatGPT scribe. I said, I thought we'd agreed that
I argue with my
such and such,
well.
you cannot say it's a person. Imagine somebody can't see. You need to say it's a woman with short blonde hair and glasses. And so it's about education as well. And it's not actually dictating to this AI tool. It's helping it to grow as well.
I know. But that's where the whole area of inclusion does become a little bit tricky, especially when you're talking about things like that, because then some people will argue, well, how do you define sex, or gender? Why should you be putting gender in there? That's not inclusive. And so it goes on. I just think do you know what? The main thing for me is about stopping. People should stop making assumptions, right? People should stop making assumptions about how everybody else in the world sees things. They should stop making assumptions about how the world is for other people and ask, right? That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you say it's a no-brainer, but
you think.
People don't, right? The majority of people assume that everybody else wants to see the world, does see the world, and is the world the way that they see it. And when we stop doing that, we see the world in a beautiful thing. Now this is a nice segue into the music, because don't you feel like that is something that you can achieve as a musician, is helping people to see the world differently as well?
I wouldn't just say as a musician, I'd say as a human being who can articulate words, be it spoken or written. Anything that helps educate people, not educate, but communicate with people through our lens is what humans are meant to do. Yeah. I just happen to, as a musician, it's a sub-layer, but ultimately it's just as human beings. If they can resonate, that's why we have good mates and people we love, and because that communication works,
Yeah, I do know. I think that's a beautiful way of putting it. What is the problem with the world, though, that people don't do that and they start to assume that they're the one that's right?
I've no idea, and I've no interest. There's 7 billion people out there. There isn't a one answer fits all.
Yeah.
I think it's you just try and mix with as many people sideways, I call it, like, your community and friends and acquaintances, and just make the best of your life and be kind of the best version and be empathetic and try and make a difference, no matter small the gesture. I think if we live our lives like that, then that's pretty good.
I think that is pretty good. That living the best life that you can, etc. Is that also why you got interested in the gym? Because you obviously love the gym as well, etc.
I've always kind of done fitness, but I like the idea. I've only just started weightlifting last March.
Yeah.
I did it for 3 months, and then I got a dodgy knee, and I couldn't do it until March this year. I like it. It's also a place where you can grunt and no one looks at you. So as a female, it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
But I generally like fitness. I'm very much aware of maintenance. This isn't a beauty contest. It's about maintaining myself for as long as possible without any pain.
Yeah.
So, it feels quite logical to do. It feels more important now. I am aware that people aren't as well as they get older, and so it's super important because it gives you liberty. It gives you freedom of choice.
No, it does.
And I'm a foodie in any case, so I love cooking, healthy stuff. So I feel pretty good about my exercise and my food and fitness, as I call it.
The whole thing. I love that.
The whole vibe.
Tell me, have you written anything in the gym? Has anything come to you in the gym?
No, the only thing that
a place where you actually clear your mind.
Yeah, I don't actually put headphones on because I like to be engaged. I like the sounds around me. The only thing sometimes is if there happens to be a good song that comes on, because most of the sounds in the gym are not that great. But there's a couple of songs, and then it makes me think about a wee rhythm. But I would do that anywhere if something kind of triggers me. Then I'll kind of follow through. But no, not really. I'm too busy just trying to get through and not have sore quads, and stuff like that. So, and I like it. I try and really make sure. It's another thing about giving back to yourself, showing that you're kind of turning up for yourself 2 or 3 times a week.
Where do you put yourself to trigger yourself to write? What is it that inspires you to? What is there?
I know you probably asked this question. It's each artist has got a different. Me, I don't know. It's I think when I first started writing, I was writing poems and words, and I have books upon books on my shelf of various things. But so I guess it was when I was younger, I was kind of more exploring the world and who I am. But now, and therefore some of those words, even if they were 2 or 3 years old, if a melody started to come along for me, then because I remembered quite a lot of what I've written, I knew where to go kind of into that book and think, because it was such a good line. It's that gold dust, but you don't know what to do with it. But now it's more melody, as I was saying on Instagram. Melodies come first, but what's so important is getting the words right. I think that's, for me, that's what makes us unique, because the words that I choose to combine are unique to me. Whereas, with our popular music, a lot of songs have the same chord structure and stuff. I feel we've lost a little bit of that diversity in the actual songwriting structure. And I do like listening to all sorts of music, and some on purpose. If I listen, they push me. Like, for example, I heard a piece 5 months ago, and it was just the first opening, like 4 chords. It was a felt piano, and then it was like drum and bass, and I thought, I've got to try and write something like that. So I kind of keep pushing myself. I'm not really one genre. I don't think we are, because we receive so much styles. Why would we not emit the same diversity of styles in our writing? So I'm kind of always trying to push the envelope and just see how far I can go. And
it's a really interesting one. We've talked about this quite a lot on this show, but it's a really interesting time for artists, because on the one hand, I think more artists, because of the way people listen to music now, people are listening to more. in general, people are listening to a more diverse range of music. So I think people are more open to that. The mechanism by which music gets out there enables that. It means that artists themselves are listening to perhaps a more diverse range of music. The whole thing's more open. And yet, when you upload things to a platform, it tries to go, and what is this? And where does it go? And where
I know, and who you sound like. I've been told the Cranberries, Bonnie Raitt, but it's who you sound like. The voice is quite different to the song.
Yeah.
So I never quite get that. And I know we all struggle with, if, you know, you'll see it on a TikTok, a combination between you two meets such and such. If you're interested in this, you'll like us. Fair enough, but I still struggle with that.
And yet everybody wants to go.
I don't do it.
I'm completely unique. I'm not genre specific. I hop between one genre and another.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really hard. I'd love to see, I don't know about you, I'd love to see more platforms that were more heavily curated by fans as opposed to an algorithm and a set of people that are behind that, you know. I think Bandcamp does it fairly well, where, you know, you get those kind of like essays and stuff that people write where they go, actually, you know, here's a thread that runs through these, and I like this, and the reasons why I like this, and it gives you a better scope for what this is actually about, as opposed to, you know, because you've listened to this, you might like this.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So it's a shame, but it is. Hopefully, one day, maybe that will change again. You never know.
Maybe that their algorithms are much more refined. Because if you think, you know, me as an artist, I've got like 3 albums out there. Are you really going to compare me? What can you compare me to? The first album was like Americana. The second album was more landscape, some ballads, you know, and now I write pop songs. So it has to be based on the song, I guess, you know, however they're picking up the rhythm or the style of the song.
How important is it? I mean, you're here now talking to me. This is what this is about. But how important is it for you that people get to know you as you, and get to know the artist, if you like, as well as the music? Because I one of the reasons I do this, and we don't play any music on this show other than that little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is because I actually think it's a pretty wholesome way of people finding the music. Is to understand people that make that music, and then create an interest in the music because something you say resonates with people, and people go, actually, I like her. You know,
that's exactly why I do what I do. Like for releasing Easy, that's coming out tomorrow, I've done 15 videos, but some of them are inside the studio, my home studio, inside the track. So I've talked about the strings and how I wrote the strings. So I'll get on camera and then switch over to the computer. It matters to me because I feel like I kind of want to leave like a digital footprint. I'm proud of what I create, and I get really excited about telling people. So I'm not going to keep that in. I mean, I'm not cool, but I really give a damn about what I'm making. And I think some people would be interested in. It's the art of communication, as well as it just being a lovely reminder for me. I did that, you know, video that time when I was talking about such and such. So it is important to me. If folks don't want to know my personality, fine. If they just are interested in the music, that's up to them. But I want to give something out, I guess, for me. And if others want to join in, that's great.
I love the fact you don't define yourself as cool. I think you're pretty cool.
Nah, I just do my thing.
But maybe that's the thing, right? Maybe cool isn't actually being all that, right? Maybe cool is actually, and this is a thing that I think like we get more comfortable with as we get older. I certainly have, which is that you get to an age where the things that really matter, right? And actually, all of that surface stuff that when you're younger and you think like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool, right? You realize that actually that's just the kind of paraphernalia of life. That isn't the things that really matter. I think cool people are the ones that have had a life. I think cool people are the ones that have got a story. I think cool
Yeah,
people
I
are the
think
ones
you're right.
that can actually tell us something about the world, right? I think they're
Yeah.
cool, you know?
Well, it kind of helps with songwriting if you've been around or experienced some things, for sure.
Yeah. Do you notice that I mean, it's always been there that we've had young pop stars in a way, but now we seem to have more young pop stars that burst onto the scene at such an early age. I mean, for me, it's one of the things that sometimes lacks in that I mean, clearly some of them aren't actually writing these songs as well. They haven't actually had those life experiences. They're taking someone else's words, but
Yeah.
you can tell when someone's gone through it, lived it, had it, you know, they're not just their heart broken, but have gone through some real stuff, and you can feel that in the music. And I do wonder whether, like, sometimes it's a lot of burden in a way to put that onto such young shoulders at an early age, when, you know, they might be trying to reflect something that they don't know anything about.
But I think then when they're younger, or when you're younger, you're writing as you are at that moment in time.
Yeah.
So
Some
it's
are.
absolutely still a thing. Well, I can only talk from my perspective. I've only ever written about, I guess, things that make a difference to me.
Yeah.
I've never written for anybody else, nor would I. Because it's just another form of you interpreting yourself. I mean, I look at some of the songs before I ever went into a recording studio, and I still got them. They're still like typed up. It's fading now. But when I look back, I think, bless you. You were trying to figure out the world, and, you know, woe is me. And it's a beautiful thing because it's just who you are. It's it's real, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that I'm always interested in, is that I do find that sometimes in this world now, people talk about imposter syndrome. People talk about, you know, mindset a lot more than when I was younger. No one really talked about mindset per se. But there seems to be this thing that actually, when I talk to some people, they're just scared to do, right? They're scared to do. And I've never experienced that in a way. I've always been one to just do it, right? And if it's rubbish to begin with, that's fine, because you will get better at it.
That's the whole point.
Isn't it the whole point? The journey is the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the journey that makes you, again, be able to, I'm speaking words principally, but that makes you so much stronger as a wordsmith. You kind of got to put in the work. It doesn't just come.
Yeah.
It's something that evolves if you're conscious of who you are as a person and how you're growing. Yeah. I love words. I think they're so powerful.
I mean, we are over 500 episodes of this now. I do not like, shall I say, looking back at some of the early ones to some extent in terms of production value and things like that. But having said that, I love watching them because I love watching the progression. I love seeing how it developed. I love seeing how you get better at doing it, you know, and that is important. For me, that's an important part of it. And I wouldn't take any of that out and go, oh, I don't want people to see that anymore. No. Because, you know, it's good.
It's all the good and bad. It all matters.
It is. It's all part of that there. I got to ask you before we have to leave each other today, and look, the time just flies when you're having fun. But I've got to ask you about your voice, because it's a beautiful voice. When did you first discover you had this voice? And did you Were you, was there any aspect of singing that you struggled with, or was there any aspect of your
Well,
voice?
I've never thought I had a good voice.
Oh, there you go.
It's
You have.
only going into the recording studio 12 years ago, and I was over in the States for work, and it meant that I was going to be there for the weekend, and so I'd already started working in Logic Pro by then. I've written songs always with acoustic guitar and stuff, but not really recorded them. And I found a recording studio, so sure enough, on the weekend, the first song I ever recorded was called Sweet and Easy. It's on the first album. And Steve sent me the MP3 after, like a week or so later, and I couldn't believe it was me. And that's actually what snared me after that. And I ended up going to America to work for 8 years or so. So he became my friend and producer. And we're still working together now in Connecticut. So when I go back over in June. So it was only after that. And even then, I hadn't performed live. And after 3 or 4 months with working with Steve, he said, you're really going to have to get some performance experience. So I started, he introduced me to a great songwriter, Richard Coath. And I started kind of hitting the bars in Stamford, Connecticut, learning to have whiskey shots and play 3 crappy songs that then became 4, 5, 6. But I always rehearsed, whether it was 2 songs or eventually I was doing like 2-hour gigs of all my material, or it was like 40 songs. I always kind of rehearsed. So I don't believe I've got a good voice. I think I've got what I've been given and I try and use it the best I can. So I don't feel there's been any discovery, or I don't think I'm great. I just hopefully serve the songwriter first, singer second, guitar player third. I hope that answers your question.
It does. I'm just listening in kind of an awe, really, because you have got a good voice, and it's a voice that is filled with honesty, and it's filled with passion, and you can hear that.
Yeah,
you can hear.
That's important to me, and I think that's where last thing I'll probably say is, with my voice and then with the words, I really fight hard to, I love ballads as well. I love the tenderness and the softness of it, and I like the vulnerability, but then I like really good kind of give it welly as well, this kind of ability to sing and shout loud. And I feel that's like life. It's all those layers. They're fast, medium, slow, they're those textures. So thank you for asking the question. I don't think I'm a great singer. I think I'm good to serve the song, and hopefully folks will resonate with that.
Well, do you know what? I hope that people listen to this, then they go and check out your music, and then they tell you what a great singer you are, and that you can just enjoy that for a moment. Because I think, that's fine. That's fine too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's appreciated for sure.
I think it's good to stay down to earth. I think it's good to stay humble in our own opinion or whatever. But do you know what? However much we might want to fight that ourselves, I think it's really quite nice when other people tell us that it's it's interesting. When I started re-releasing in December time, it's basically been a classical piano piece, Sleep This Night, a kind of kid's lullaby, beautiful though, big orchestra. And then there's been 2 ballads, and I kind of was really keen to get easy out, because I kind of wanted to show people I don't just do ballads. And actually, there's been some lovely comments from folks. I mean, and of course, I always reply to comments on social media and pretty quickly as well. But that makes me very happy. And then the next song is going to be out 30th May. That's super fast, like really fast. But it's going to be a double A side. So there'll be a cello type version as well as the kind of full rock drums and stuff. So yeah, it matters. Compliments are really appreciated. It certainly does. You can live happily on compliments, that they fulfill and you know, encourage and inspire us to go forward, which is why we need them in life.
Yeah.
Absolutely do. Kathy, it's been an
Graham,
absolute pleasure.
It went really quick.
I know it always does, you know,
Yeah.
but do come back again sometime.
Yeah,
It's been an absolute
lovely.
pleasure
Yeah,
talking
it's
to you
been a
today.
joy chatting to you.
Thank you. Folks, this is the wonderful Kathy Muir. If you'd like to check out her music now, please do go and check it out. But please do stop, say thank you, say how much it means to you when you've listened to it. Add it to a playlist as well if you've enjoyed the music. We will add some music of hers to the My Music Podcast playlist as well. Make it easier for you to find it. We'll be back soon with another one of these. But until then, keep listening to new music. Keep exploring what's out there. It's not just what you hear on the radio, folks.
No.
Until then, bye for now.
All the best, Graham. See
Thank
you
you.
soon.